Ish. All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Gunner Technology Livestream, a weekly tech talk for non-techies and techies alike. I'm your host, Barry Merkins. With me is CEO of Gunner Technology, Cody Swan. What's up, Cody?
Oh, I'm barefoot today, so I'm in prime mode. I'm in prime relaxation mode. I leave
Lazy Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still one day ahead because I swore up and down that yesterday was Thursday, and I leave for like a kind of vacation on Saturday. So I did everything for my Thursday work yesterday. Like I sent out the newsletter for
Yeah.
this show yesterday, and I was getting ready to prep for the show yesterday, and then you told me it was Thursday or it was Wednesday, and I was just totally thrown off. So I'm like in my mind, I'm one day away from vacation. So yeah, I'm just I'm rocking the barefoot.
That is huge. You discovered a whole 24 hours that you didn't know you had.
That's right. That's right.
What a gift. All right, so jumping right into it, we've got our Country Store giveaway. Country Store Outfitters is a lifestyle brand for anyone who loves the outdoors. You can visit them at countrystoreoutfitters.com. Sign up for the Country Store giveaway on our Facebook page. This week's winner is Carrie N. from Norfolk, Virginia. So Carrie N., you've got a Country Store hat coming your way, along with copies of our 5 now ebooks, 4 or 5. I can't keep track of our ebooks. We're like cranking those things out. So you got copies of our ebooks coming your way too. So enjoy those, and everyone else, go ahead and hop on our Facebook page and sign up for the Country Store giveaway. And while you're there, you can answer our question of the week, which this past week, what was the question of the week, Cody?
The past question of the week was, are you concerned about our elections being compromised in this midterm election?
I thought it was, is Bob Euchre still alive? Did that not make it?
I think we settled that on air. I think
that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's right.
And actually, so over almost 70% said yes or yep, according to the gifts that I put out, which was yep or nope. And interestingly enough, since I published that, I guess Microsoft has come out and said that they have either stopped or been made aware of hacking attempts into the actual electoral process from Iran, Russia, and one other country. So
fake news.
Yeah, it's weird because it's kind of like it's kind of moving. You never know. Like, so here's the thing. We're jaded. We're both jaded, and I hear Microsoft say that.
That's an understatement.
And I actually don't really. I could believe that there are countries trying to hack into the actual vote tallying and things like that. However, when I hear that, my first reaction is, man, Microsoft's trying to get some good publicity. They're like, right. Yeah, we stopped this hacking attempt, and there's no way to prove that they stopped. You can't prove a negative. So, like, I mean, they could just say that and glom on for publicity, and then, well, can you release your evidence? Well, no.
No, that's proprietary information.
Right,
if we release that, they know how to defeat our system.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
more power to them. I mean, Gunner Technology has stopped numerous voting hacking attempts too. So
I'm pretty sure we halted a cyber invasion from Vladimir Putin himself.
Yeah, it was going to be like Red Dawn, but we were there, and we shut it down.
We would love to share how we did that, but then other hackers would be able to get around our.
Yeah, they would know what to do. We can't share that information.
Exactly right. And this week is a lot more lighter. It's, do you have a subscription to Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime TV?
Gosh, wait. Man, I'm so curious to see if anyone says no.
I know. That's kind of what I was going for. Is at this point
we get a response from a Mr. Kaczynski in like deep lockdown. That'd be our sole no.
We would get like a like Brother Hezekiah from Pennsylvania saying
right
no or something.
Yeah, he mailed in his response.
That's right.
Or it was delivered by a donkey.
It was delivered by one of Josh Brooks's postcards.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually weird. I wonder how many people only have one of those services too, because I know you get Amazon Video with Amazon Prime.
Right.
And I definitely have Netflix still. Hulu's the only one I've never had. Have you ever had Hulu?
I don't have my own Hulu. I have someone else's Hulu.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah. What's even on Hulu?
Well, it's worth it just for that. Actually, Hulu's got some good stuff, but it's worth it just for that Castle Rock, Stephen King, J.J. Abrams production that I was telling you about.
Remind me again what that was.
Castle Rock. It's like a show and it's only in season 1. And basically, it's an original show, and it's not written by Stephen King, but he's an executive producer with J.J. Abrams, and the whole show is just, I mean, not just, but the show is like chock full of Stephen King references. Like,
Okay.
in this past episode, one of the main characters was hiding in a shower with the curtain closed, and then stabbed the person when they found her in the shower. So like a reference to like Psych. It's like all these callbacks to all these like old shows, and like all the Stephen King references. Like they dig up an animal like in one of the episodes, so it's like Pet Cemetery.
Yep.
There's like all of these. I mean, it's just full of Stephen King references.
It's got Shawshank Prison apparently.
Yeah, Shawshank Prison.
You got Bill Skarsgård, the guy who played Pennywise in It.
Exactly, played Pennywise in It. He's the creeper in the series so far.
That is just a creepy looking dude.
Yeah.
Like, how could that man play anything except something terrifying?
Yeah, it's like there was someone else who always Steve Buscemi.
I was gonna say Steve Buscemi, yeah.
Always needs to play a whack job.
Oh man, well, yeah, maybe worth checking out. We should be sponsored by Hulu. We're playing them up so much in this episode.
Seriously.
Get some of that Hulu cash. But anyways, let's dive right into this week's episode. Again, this is our 10-part case study series. We're sort of going through various products and services that we built. This week's episode is awesome. This is one of my favorite products that we ever worked on, and it's called iPolish. Do you want to just give like a 10,000-foot overview of what iPolish is?
Yeah, before I do that, I wanted to jump in at the last point because you were talking
about... Wait. You got to say what the question of the week is. Oh, no, you did say what the question of the week is.
And before we get off that, like you were saying, get some of that Hulu cash. But and we're talking about how everyone has these services, right? Netflix, Prime TV, or Hulu, but they all lose money hand over fist. They are just burning through cash. They are in the red so much. It's
one of those weird things where, because I have MoviePass, I've had MoviePass since like 2013, 2014. Like I was one of the original MoviePass guys. And their service was awesome for a long time because they made you pay for it. It was like $30 a month, but you could see unlimited movies. And then they They rolled it down to $10 a month for unlimited movies. And I think they lost $125 million this past quarter. And it's funny because I think the business model is borrow tons of money, lose tons of money, and assume that a business model will arrive at some point down the line.
Yeah,
like hope that you can accrue enough user data to sell or leverage to, be able to target advertising. Like MoviePass could work if you targeted ads to moviegoers based on what movies they saw, but it's a race to see whether you run out of money or whether your business model solidifies in time.
It's so weird, and it's a side effect of the Silicon Valley growth, which is basically it became, and we see it now. I mean, Uber may have finally started making money, but I think they're still
I don't think they did. No. I think they're still in the red.
All of these, and it started with the kind of the software startups, but now it's moving into other companies other types of companies like Uber or like MoviePass, which is basically like do anything you can to accumulate the largest user base possible, and then somewhere down the road figure out how to make money from them. That's kind of what it's all about, which is so weird because it has no sort of long-term plan. It's just sort of this, if we get enough eyeballs, we'll figure out how to make money in some way, form, or fashion.
Yeah, and I guess it's just that it kind of worked. It's worked twice, right? Like Facebook was burning through cash. Twitter was burning through cash. I don't even know how much Twitter makes now, but they sort of, for the longest time, were not profitable, and then all of a sudden, like they hit some critical mass or they discovered some critical audience, and then they just started making money hand over fist. So I think that's like, it's sort of like the hopeful model where you hope that that's going to happen to your company in time.
It's the Vladimir Guerrero model. Like you just take the biggest
take a big cut.
Yeah, like you either hit the ball over the fence or you spin around 3 times and dig into the dirt.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's the Vladimir Guerrero model of business right there.
Yeah, it's one side of the Bugs Bunny cartoon. Either the baseball explodes or you're like 10 feet underground because you swung so hard and missed. That is a great name for it, the Vladimir Guerrero model of business. And he's a Hall of Famer, so I guess maybe it works.
And his son now is in AAA, about to get called up to the big. So if you don't
No
feel, if
way.
you didn't feel old before the show, now you certainly feel old now. At least I do.
Mike Guerrero has a child in the major leagues. That's shocking.
Yes, yes.
That is just disastrous. Well, let's turn it around and hop into our case study now, so that we can talk about something amazing instead of how old we feel.
That's right.
So iPolish, give us like just a broad overview of what iPolish was and what it was hoping to accomplish, because it's pretty amazing.
So when the stakeholder brought the idea to my attention, I thought it was like science fiction. He was talking about nanotechnology and color changing polymers and substrates and all this stuff that I had no idea what the heck he was talking about. And he had this. It wasn't the Vlad Guerrero business model. It was actually a pretty good business model where he was going to develop a proof of concept of color changing nails. So basically, using an iPhone application, and it was specifically iPhone at the time, you could change the color of your nails to whatever, from whatever to whatever. And that was going to be a consumer product launched directly from this company called Biltmore Technology. And but that was only going to be a small play in the larger play of proving the concept of color changing paint, true color changing paint, and then license that to bigger companies like DuPont and like BMW and Oakley, so you could actually like change the color of the rims on your glasses, or change the color of your entire car, or change the color of your house if it's painted with this DuPont paint. And that was going to be the big payoff, is the licensing agreements, but they had to have something that proved the concept first. So that's kind of where we came in, and it was just basically like, we need you to build we need you to build an iPhone app that will change the colors of these nails. And there was no real way to do that directly, because basically the way it worked was, there was these, and again, this is where I talk a little bit over my skis, but there was color changing polymers, which were developed by chemists at Georgia Tech University. And that patent was purchased from this company, from Georgia Tech, because they couldn't figure out what to do with it at Georgia Tech. It's interesting. Academia like comes up with really cool stuff. Then it's just like, all right, we'll put this on the shelf because we did what we said we were going to do, and we'll leave it to someone else to figure it out. So
Man,
anyway,
it seems
the
like there's so many uses for that.
oh yeah,
But
oh
I guess it is sort of like the engineer mindset, where they just want to tinker and build stuff, and then they're
that's
so
exactly
removed
right.
from the world that they have no idea that how anyone would use it.
That's exactly right. And so the nails would almost be like kind of press on nails, but they'd be coated in this. It was almost like a gel that had these substrates in them. It was like a flexible polymer, and so then it was activated by uh, by not NFC, but basically by small amounts of power. And so the iPhone can't directly deliver power externally, right? So what we ended up doing was developing kind of a wand that looks like if you painted your nails. Not that I've painted my nails, but if anyone out there has painted their nails or seen someone paint their nails, you can see they have like a little brush, right? Well, this little wand looked like one of those brushes. And so basically, what you would do is you would pick a color on the iPhone application, and it would pair with this little wand, and you would send the wand would pair with the phone via Bluetooth connection, or BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy.
And would
And
pick up the color just based on like a hex code that you entered,
yeah,
or like
okay,
on a color wheel.
so yeah, so you'd pick a color from a color wheel on the iPhone application and lock it, and then you'd say, set it, and then basically the wand would detect when it was close to a nail and kind of zap it, for lack of a better word, and it would change colors. Um,
And the
you
zapping actually activated. I would imagine it's sort of like the standard red, blue, yellow color combination, and it would be varying levels of whatever made the nail red, blue, or yellow, and you would just sort of combine them into whatever color you wanted to see.
Yeah, and so you're touching on actually one of the biggest challenges that one of those things where this is one of my prouder moments how we talk about like how many hours we stayed awake consecutively. There's the challenge was so when you look and I'm gonna forget which one it is, but if you look at if you're looking at an iPhone and the color you're looking at the color wheel, you see the colors, but it actually gets color because it's backlit, right? So there's a light coming behind the colors, which adds a certain amount of luminosity to the color wheel, which produces what your eyes see. I believe that's called additive coloring. RGB is an additive coloring. Well, in the real world, when it's on your nail, there's no backlight. It's light coming from above, right?
Right.
And so that's CMY, which I think is the what if RGB is additive, then CMY is subtractive. So one of the most difficult aspects of this project was actually doing the color mathematics to translate an additive color to a subtractive color and have them be exact.
Yeah.
So that was really and
Well, that's right up your alley as a journalist too, because I think isn't all print media CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, right?
yep, exactly. And then everything that you see on screen is RGB. That's exactly
Right.
right. And
We're
so
like if you look at a screen close enough, or at least old screens, you could actually see the red, green, and blue pixels
yes,
on the screen
exactly.
itself.
And so we actually came up with it. And again, I couldn't find any open source algorithm that would change it to what we needed to. So we ended up creating one, and it would match it exactly. So if you picked green, if you picked a specific shade of green on the color wheel, and we had over 3 million colors. So it was pretty impressive. So if you picked a shade of green on the color wheel, it would be that shade of green on your fingernail. And so that was kind of how it worked.
Oh yeah, because hex would be 16, 16 to the sixth, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's
Like
right. That's right.
16 million colors or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was we had millions and millions of color possibilities, only limited by well, not limited by math, but also limited by the size of the screen to show the color wheel kind of thing.
Wow, that's so cool. Uh, so what was the implementation of the actual color wheel? How did that work? Was that a native application? Was that
Yeah, so
sort of a site or a standalone, like a progressive web app, or how did that work?
that was a native iPhone application. And again, so it wasn't just the color wheel. So you could set favorite colors.
Right, right, right.
You could share a color. It had like account information, so you could log in and see what your history of color changing was, and things like that. I can't remember some of the other features. There was sharing, favorites, history. I can't remember. There's a couple more
Recommended
features.
colors,
Yeah, something like that. And so we had basically
sponsored colors. This should be a sponsored colors.
yeah, brought to you by like Crimson Tide.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Exactly. So that's kind of what we had, and it was yeah, like I said, it was a
How'd you?
native.
How was the actual app built? Was it Swift or
It started off actually as
Objective C?
Objective C,
Oh
and
yeah,
then moved into. Sorry, my dog's barking at me. And then moved into Swift, and then in the latter stages, as we were getting ready to make it a React, or excuse me, and make it available on Android, we are moving it over to React Native as well.
nice, nice. What was the decision there using React Native versus building sort of like using Java to build the native Android app?
So
What are the difficulties as opposed between developing a native Android app versus converting a native iOS app into a React Native app? So what are the decisions there? What are the pieces that you think about as you're making that decision?
well, the biggest one was yeah, I see what you're saying. Is like you already had a native Swift app. Why not just make a
Just
native
Java, just like a native Java Android app.
Kotlin
Yeah,
or
exactly
Java?
right.
So the thing is like we we've made a big push to move all of our even if we just had an iOS only app that was Swift, we made a big push to move those to JavaScript as well. And so really, it's all about focusing, and it's all about like kind of rallying around a certain technology and keeping focus on that technology. So we could have built the Java or the Android app in Java or Kotlin. However, we would kind of be getting away from our philosophy of keeping everything standard. At the same time, um, we we know JavaScript better than we know Java and or Kotlin. So the time to take the Swift app and make it into a React Native app available for both iOS and Android was less than it would have taken us to just build the native Android application using Java or Kotlin.
I got a question here. Is this product currently available?
Yeah,
I would imagine a ton of people would be interested in this product.
yeah, unfortunately, it's not. So there was a problem, right? And the problem with the product was that the polymers, and again, I believe I'm saying this correctly, the polymers began to crack under direct sunlight. And so the company who bought the patent from Georgia Tech went back to Georgia Tech and were actively working to solve the problem of cracking under sunlight when infighting began within their company, which eventually collapsed. So unfortunately, no, it's not. The application, the iPhone application, is still available on the iTunes store, and I actually still have a sample polymer that never touched the sunlight that I can actually still change the color with, but it's not available at a consumer grade. The whole thing, the whole operation just kind of fell apart.
It's too bad. It's such a loss.
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
have been a pretty cool product to take to market.
Yeah, and they had like and it was, we built it as a separate application, but it was the same exact theory as they had, and now I'm seeing it kind of become consumer grade in other areas. But they had the idea of privacy glass that you could control the opacity of, just like you control the color from your color wheel. You could set the opacity of a window or something like that. So again, same type of philosophy. They wanted to prove the concept with some small types of glass, like in an office building
Yep.
where someone has an office and they want people to be able to look in and see them, but when they have a guest in, they want to be able to block out everyone else. That was kind of their proof of concept, but they had the same idea of kind of like tint on a car. So if it's like wintertime and it's not hot, you don't need a tint, and then if it starts to get hot, you just change the opacity and then you have tint on your car. So it was really cool, where in the fact that it could have been a game changer for a lot of different industries, but just the kind of management team and the infighting from our client kind of shut everything down.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't get past that human aspect of running a business. It's
Yeah.
sort of like I would say 50-50. It's the product versus the team that sort of take an idea down.
Yeah, and it was weird because, I mean, in the end, what happened was they raised financing from a couple of companies, and including, they were either about to or did raise some money from Dean Woodman, who is a pretty famous investor, including the biggest investor in GoPro, who I think is the founder was his son. And so Dean Woodman basically was about to write a bigger check, but then the infighting started and was like, well, I'm going to hold off, but then kind of ended up holding the company hostage. And then the CEO or COO got fired, and everything went to pot. And it was just a really ugly situation. And here we are kind of sitting there being like, our job here is done. Everything we did, it works. Like, we want you guys to just somehow pull it together and limp to the finish line, because I mean, obviously, most importantly, we wanted to see our work get widespread adoption. But at the same time, we were looking at lucrative contracts to kind of expand the use case for iPolish and iArmor. So we're like, man, what can we do? Like, we don't have $10 million to give you, but like, I mean, what can we do to help you get through this? And they just, in the end, it just was a nasty situation.
It's tough. What other lessons did we learn from this beyond just the business angle of it, and how difficult it can be to deal with political infighting in a business setting?
Well, from a
What else? Yeah, I guess technologically or otherwise, what else did we draw from this?
technology standpoint, so the color wheel itself, the color wheel which just showed the colors, right? That was actually an open source Objective C package, right? So we learned, and again, the first version of this came out. We wrote the first version of this in Objective C because Swift did not exist yet. So that tells you how long ago this was. And then when Swift came out, we wanted to try it out, so we moved a couple of projects to Swift. And because the stakeholders wanted to change the iPhone or the iPolish iPhone application, we're like, well, let's do it in Swift. So we learned how to bridge bridge Swift components to iOS, or excuse me, Objective C components, because, like I said, the color wheel was an open source package that we didn't want to rewrite ourselves. So we figured out how to bridge that to Swift, and then later when we were moving to React Native, we figured out how to bridge that to React Native with JavaScript bindings. So we learned a lot of, and like I said, about color theory and color mathematics. We learned a lot there. We learned a lot about BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy Communication. Even then, that was a new feature on iOS that Apple was slowly rolling out. And the weird thing is, what we did to figure that out, we took a color changing light bulb, and we
Right.
we basically and the color changing light bulb had an application existing, a companion application where you could change the color of the light bulb from a few different colors. And basically, we sniffed the packets that were being sent between the iPhone application and the light bulb, and we reverse engineered it so we could figure out how to control the light bulb with the iPolish application. So our first iteration of iPolish was just basically changing the color of a light bulb using existing technology, but that's how we figured out how BLE worked, because there's no documentation, and the documentation is not really clear. So, for example, what we did is we opened up the light bulb and saw what chip the light bulb was using, and it was actually using a Texas Instruments chip. So we ordered that same chip from Texas Instruments and put it in the wand, which would change the color on the nail. And so, but the Texas Instrument chip did not have documentation on how to send via Bluetooth the correct information to change the colors. So we had to basically see what the existing iPhone application was doing and replicate that and send the same instructions to the chip that the existing iPhone application for the light bulb was doing.
I guess that's a good segue too to a shout out that we also produce gadgets. Like we're not just a software company. We actually have hardware experience too.
I thought you were gonna go old school and say a shout out to like the TI-84.
I was gonna say TI-83. That's how old school my calculator was. TI-83 Plus. I love that thing.
I had a TI-82 and a TI-83. And what was that game we used to play on it? Drug Wars. Was that the game?
Well, yeah, and I remember the very first application I ever built was a Snake game for a TI-83 calculator.
Yeah, exactly. I thought you were gonna go old school, hearing Texas Instruments and going.
Yeah, we opened up a light bulb and found a TI-83 calculator inside.
It was, our minds were blown.
But yeah, we do have hardware experience. I mean, this was as much hardware as it was software.
Yeah, it was probably more hardware than it was software.
Exactly, so, right.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, that is going to wrap up our episode on iPolish. Unless you have any concluding thoughts or any last words, I guess, on iPolish.
No, it's so funny. Again, going back to how jaded we are, but think about how with the combination of iArmor, which was changing the opacity of things, and iPolish changing the color of things, you could have built the perfect getaway vehicle, right? So
yeah, it would have been like what was that Michael Keaton movie where he kept changing the color of his car as he was getting away? Oh man, Weird Al Yankovic did the theme song to it.
UHF.
I wish.
I don't know.
I'm looking it up. I'm gonna try and think of it. But anyways, yeah, you absolutely could have made the
Yeah, and
Perfect getaway car.
you could have had clear tint over the license plate, and then when you went
Yep.
on incognito, just cover up the license plate. You could have kept changing the color of the car. It was actually a perfect nefarious use, and you could have paid for the car in Bitcoin, and then you just would have been totally
Scot free, just
the
like
new
totally
age
off the grid.
criminal. The new age
Perfect.
criminal.
Johnny Dangerously, by the way, is the name of the movie.
Oh,
Just
I don't
thought
think
of
I've
it.
ever seen that. I don't think.
Oh, it's a classic. It's a classic like screwball comedy with Michael Keaton, young Michael Keaton. This is like pre Batman Michael Keaton.
Oh man.
Yeah, so this is going way back, and Weird Al did the theme song to it. So this was like glory Weird Al days too. Anyways, that's a great note to end on. Everyone should go watch Johnny Dangerously, and just imagine that when Michael Keaton is pulling the layers of paint off his car to change the color, he could have just done that with an iPhone app, and it would have been way more efficient. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Gunner Technology Livestream. Make sure to tune in next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursday, not Wednesday. Make sure to check out the associated podcast for this episode on iTunes. The associated blog posts will be on gunnertech.com. You can check out our ebooks on iBooks, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and anywhere else ebooks are sold. Hop on our Facebook page and sign up for the Country Store giveaway. Country Store is a lifestyle brand for anyone who loves the outdoors. And while you're signing up for the Country Store giveaway, go ahead and answer our question of the week, which remind them, Cody, what the question is this week.
Do you have a subscription to Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime TV?
We need to have a follow-up question, too, just to see how many hours people spend watching Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Video.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what the averages are now. It's got to be close to like 4 or 5 hours a night. Anyways, hop on our Facebook page and answer that question of the week. And make sure to tune in next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the next episode of the Gunner Technology Livestream. I'm Derry. That's Cody. We'll see you next week.